take projection.
It's Wednesday morning. You know what that means. It's time for another episode of the Alabama Slam podcast. I'm your host, Corey Hanna.
What's going on, guys? It's Patrick Akers.
And we are recording remotely today. Patrick is enjoying a trip to the beach. Have you made it through your 48 Coronas yet? Is that what you said you think you could do? Was 48 or was it?
I'm working on it. I started drinking. We are recording this at 5:45. I started drinking about 11 o'clock. I'm about 6 or 7, so we'll see if I make it to the 48. Although I did just go get a bottle of bourbon, so we might switch over to some old fashions here in a second. So I don't know if I'll make the 48, but I'm definitely keeping up a blood alcohol content over the legal limit for as many hours as humanly possible.
That's vacation rules. I think that's the only way you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Well, we are. This will be our first time releasing on Wednesday. I believe we're going to do this moving forward. When we, like I said last week on the show, when we started the podcast, we were basically only talking about Dynamite, which was a Wednesday night show, recording Thursday, releasing Friday morning. But I feel like it might be better to get out a little earlier in the week now, since we're covering a whole lot more. Well, let's get right into it. From Friday night, Fatal 4-Way started the show. LA Knight is so damn over that he got to cut a promo on the way to the ring. I thought that was pretty hilarious. Theory interfered while Ray was trying to get the pin. Escobar runs in and chases Theory away. Ray gets the win. So on one hand, it's going to be cool because Escobar has to face Ray this next week, I guess, this coming week, Friday night. So a couple days from now. And they're part of the same faction, so that'll be interesting. But on the other hand, what the hell are we doing for LA Knight? If, it kind of was pointing that he was going to be the guy to take it off of Theory, unless who knows what could happen. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, look, I don't know, obviously we don't see international numbers and things like that. I don't know how over the LWO is in other countries. To me, it feels like it's not that much of a thing here, but they are putting a lot of stock into it, a lot of hype. I mean, that's why they have this match coming up on Friday between Mysterio and Escobar. But why is this not LA Knight? What's happening?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like you said, he gets to cut a promo on the way down to the ring. Where he calls everybody out. The entire crowd is, doing his catchphrase. And this just seems like, and, hindsight 4 months from now, this could sound stupid depending on where LA Knight is. WWE has a weird habit of not pulling the trigger on a lot of things that are super over in the moment when they didn't have any plans for it to begin with, if that makes sense.
Right.
The first guy that comes to mind is Zack Ryder. And if you remember, I don't think you were watching wrestling at this time.
I wasn't, no.
Zack Ryder, a.k.a. Matt Cardona, now in the Indies, got himself completely over all on his own accord with these internet videos he was doing and all this stuff, to the point where someone posted a thing on Twitter there was a random, I think it was 2011, The Rock was standing in the ring and the crowd was chanting, "We want Ryder." And outside of his Intercontinental win at that WrestleMania, which I believe he lost the title literally the very next night on Monday Night Raw, the dude never had a moment in WWE. Because eventually, it's just the fan support kind of fizzles out, right? You can't keep it up for that long. That's what made something like Daniel Bryan, his WrestleMania win, so special, is that the crowd was just relentless in their support for him despite everything that WWE did. Now, the WWE brass will tell you that was all part of the plan. Their propaganda machine they have going on, which, I don't buy that for a second. Elias had a similar type of build where the fans were behind him and he sort of just fizzled out. Rusev, Miro had this kind of they're just guys that kind of just get over. And if it's not part of the WWE plan, they kind of just let it go by the wayside. I'm hoping that's not the case here with LA Knight, because I do think this dude could be a big time player. I mean, he's already, we talk about all the time. If you listen to the pops that he gets when his music hits, I mean, it rivals the biggest baby faces that company has. But it's just kind of baffling when it's just sitting right there. Austin Theory's done nothing with it. You have this fatal 4-way, and he just doesn't win it. I don't know.
Yeah, I was very baffled by that decision, to say the least. We could talk about it till we're blue in the face. We've spent a lot of time talking about LA Knight the last few weeks, but I mean, it's what's hot right now, so that's what we're going to talk about, right? So it's just, they keep saying they've got plans for him, but I mean, we're a week away from SummerSlam, right?
Yeah, and he's not. I guess he's not going to be on the card, or at least, I mean, he's not. He has nothing going so far.
I mean, at this point, if they put him on there, it's just something they've thrown together at the last minute because there's no build up to it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, listen, Rey Mysterio obviously is a legend, but his time was in the past. I mean, he still does good work, but he's not where he was, a decade ago. Santos Escobar is a guy that has a lot of talent, but it doesn't seem like it's his time right now.
Right.
And you got the whole crowd chanting LA Knight, yeah. And they just don't let this dude win or let him get in big time matches. I don't understand it.
I'm sure we'll talk about it again next week, but it's really, really pissing me off at this point.
And look, maybe this is all part of the plan. Like we said, maybe it's to get us all talking, to get us all mad so that the support for him grows. I just think that's a pretty stupid way of doing business, but,
yeah.
Who am I?
So let's get to the rules of engagement. I just put rules of engagement in the notes. I didn't really type any moments because it seems like there's been a big moment from any of the segments involving the Bloodline for the last few weeks, but nothing stood out to me as the oh shit moment for this week, which is fine. Like, we've said before, they can't all be cowboys. It's, just another segment basically of some lead up to what's going to happen at SummerSlam. So I'm sure something big will happen this week. Or I don't know, maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be non-eventful and then they'll have the big pop-off next week before the show, or next Friday before the show. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
See, I thought this segment was fantastic just for the reason you laid out, because there wasn't a big moment. We've talked about time and time before, this storyline and Roman Reigns in particular, it's all about subtlety. And there's the little moments like where Jey Uso comes out first, right? And then the crowd's all like hyped up and he gets in the ring and he's all like boisterous. And then Roman Reigns' music hit and he kind of just kept his head down. He didn't look at him. Because I think Jey just in kayfabe as a character, like he's not really sure if he can beat Roman Reigns. Because the last time these dudes faced off, what happened? Roman Reigns beat him within an inch of his life. So, like, I don't think this is something he necessarily wants to do. Like you said, it's something he has to do. And then you look at Roman Reigns. Again, he's all boisterous. He's all arrogant. And then when Jey says tribal combat, everything switches. And especially when Jey said this, Roman had that line, "Do the elders know?" And Jey had the response, it was the elders' idea.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, just fantastic lore that they've set up that we really haven't even delved into yet in terms of like on the show. And this is something like that they could come back to 10, 15, 20 years from now. Like in 20 years from now, if there's two Samoan wrestlers, they can do tribal combat and they can have a segment where like old man Jey Uso and old man Roman Reigns show up on SmackDown, because they've now established that this is something in our universe. Like there is a tribal council of Samoan elders who kind of float above even the WWE, right? Like they call shots for this entire family that has this historic legacy. So I think that's really super interesting. But then yeah, the tribal combat, and then the symbolism of Roman Reigns taking the red, I don't even know what it's called, a lei? I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
That red thing around his neck, and he lays it down. Meanwhile, Paul Heyman's just freaking the hell out, right? And then there's also that beautiful moment where Solo flips the table, is about to spike Jay, and Roman stops him. Because even Roman in kayfabe has, even though he might not have respect for Jay or respect for any of his opponents, he has respect for this family legacy, right? He has respect for everything that he's a part of. And then you have the Paul Heyman's just so fantastic as he's going up the ramp. I don't know if you caught it, but like they're having that shot on Roman Reigns, and Paul's in the background just screaming. He said it was the elders' idea. He said it was the elders' idea. I thought the whole thing was just fantastic because it sets up that Solo is just this unhinged monster. Like we said, we got the moment with Jay where he can't even look Roman in the eyes when he's coming down the ramp because he's so torn, and he probably has a lot of doubt going into this match. And then Roman, like, obviously there is something involved with the elders that even he has like respect for, even though he has kind of ran through all his entire family. So once again, I mean, they can't mess with this segment. It's kind of it's unbelievable at this point. Like every single week, this thing it's a home run. It never misses. And we've done it now for 2.5 years, 3 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It's man, you know, the true success of this story, and I think I've said this before, is like if we keep getting stories like this that unfold over a long period of time that have so many twists and turns in it, which is something we really haven't seen in wrestling before. I think that'll be the true testament of the Bloodline storyline and Roman Reigns and what all these guys have accomplished. If it really just changes the game, or this could just be one of those things where it's so special and it's going to be impossible to replicate because you know it's once in a generation. You don't get these moments all the time.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see. I know there's no way to really track it, but to see the number of people that were either brought back into wrestling or brought into wrestling because of the storyline.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, yeah, that would be interesting to see. Or just like, you know, depending on how this thing ends, like we said, when we don't have any kind of recency bias, it really will be something to kind of sit down and explore and kind of situate this Bloodline storyline within the history of professional wrestling. And where, because a lot of people have said it's the greatest story of all time. I think I kind of feel that way. I would have to, like I said, though, I'd really have to sit down and think about it. But just the fact that we're even having that conversation. I mean, people have been doing pro wrestling, at least in a mainstream, for 40-something years.
Yeah. So
to say something is the greatest ever is that's quite a feat in and of itself. And also, like, man, we got to get ready to figure out where we put Roman Reigns in terms of an all-time list when it comes to WWE. Because, listen, people love The Rock. People love Stone Cold. They love Hulk Hogan, John Cena. I'm not so sure this dude is not better than all those guys, at least in this 3-year run. Like, we want to talk about totality of a career. That's one thing. And, of course, Roman has a lot of failures, particularly early in his career when they tried to get him over as a white meat babyface and the crowd just rejected him. But for these 2.5, 3 years that he's been the tribal chief, try to find me somebody that's had a similar 3-year stretch that has had, again, just a level of or a consistency. Like, there's been no downtime with this dude. Like, every time he comes on screen, it feels like a big deal. And like I said, for my money, just for the things that he's doing, the subtlety, I know I keep coming back to that word, but like that's a thing that no other wrestler that's been on top has ever had, really. Stone Cold wasn't subtle. The Rock wasn't subtle. Hulk Hogan wasn't subtle.
Yeah, they had one gear.
Yeah, they had one gear, and it was a great gear. I mean, it made a lot of money.
But, that wasn't a diss, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I've written, I think, for the site before. Like, if you ask just a random person on the street, hey, give me like a pro wrestling promo, or try to sound like a pro wrestler, the first thing they're going to do is like put some bass in their voice, and they're going to try to sound like Hulk Hogan. Like that's the cliche at this point. And Roman is none of that.
True.
Roman is on top of an industry while bucking against everything that sort of the industry has ever taught you, that this is what a top guy is supposed to do. Like he's supposed to be loud. He's supposed to act a certain way, and Roman just struts down to the ring. You know, we talk about that moment at was it Survivor Series where he just sits in the cage, but he's sitting down on the chair and he's just pointing. He's like a damn mob boss. Like it's crazy. He's the final boss of WWE.
Yeah. Well, let's switch into Monday Night Raw and keep it moving so you can get down to the pool. Last night, show started off with Judgment Day celebrating Dom winning his NXT North American title. And then KO and Sammy interrupt them. Sammy challenges Dom to a match for sometime this evening. And then Rhea accepts the challenge on Dom's behalf, and I chuckled quite a bit when that happened. I thought that was funny. And then Dom will later go on to pin Sammy after Rhea and Damian roll KO out from the back, and Sammy gets distracted. So, you know, cheating ass Judgment Day is going to cheat as they do. You know, it's interesting watching everything play out with them and Finn these days, because there was again another moment between Finn and Damian with the briefcase. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of stuff happening with the Judgment Day, and they're kind of carrying Monday Night Raw lately. It seems like, you know, they're all over the place in the show.
I mean, yeah, if you look at Monday, so they open the show. Dom has a match. Finn has the segment with Seth that closes the show.
Mm-hmm.
Damian Priest has a match.
Mm-hmm.
Rhea has a backstage segment that spawns off of another segment. She beats somebody up. I mean, I know they got 3 hours to fill, but they are getting their money's worth with the Judgment Day. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then she was supposed to have a match with Liv Morgan, but beat Liv's ass so bad before the bell even rang. Put her arm in the chair and stomped on it 2 different times. You know, so they're setting something up with her and Liv. But, you know, if we're to believe what that actually, you know, hurt the way it looked last night, then Liv should probably end up being out for a little bit, or at least be severely fucked up in the arm. You know, like she put her arm in a chair and then stomped on that motherfucker twice. So, yeah, I don't know, man. A lot happening there. You know, we had the Cody promo last night. Looks, you know, he'll get his 3rd match with Brock next weekend.
They still have to add some kind of stipulation to this. That's what I thought was coming.
Yeah.
And then it just didn't happen, which as I said, they still have a week. There has to be some kind of stip. It can't just be a regular match.
Yeah, we keep thinking it'll end up being a Hell in a Cell, but there's been no evidence to that. So I don't know.
Yeah. At this point, I don't know. I mean, I guess they could surprise us. I mean, like, SummerSlam's already sold out, so it's not like they don't have to advertise stuff to sell tickets, right? And they don't have to advertise it for people like me and you to be like, oh, now we're going to watch it. Like, they can do that next week. They finalize the card. Like, that's not pressing matter right now. But yeah, I just thought Cody was going to say something about Hell in a Cell. He gave another great promo. I mean, that his woes on his entrance song. I mean, they've hit peak levels. Like, they can't, the crowd can't get any louder
right
than what they get for Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts, man.
And the documentary is what, next Friday?
I kept thinking it was Sunday, but the commercial last night said Monday. So
yeah, the 31st. Let me check. When is it? Yeah, it's next Monday. So
I guess at some point that day, I need to try to squeeze that in before Raw, which is, I'm assuming the documentary is probably what, an hour, 2 hours?
Yeah, probably a little. I would like an hour 20 if I had to say something like that.
Yeah,
Is it made? It's made by WWE, right? It's not made by.
I assume so because it's
Okay.
going to be on Peacock.
Yeah.
Um, assuming that's the Peacock, the WWE, network on Peacock or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, I don't have anything else from Raw unless you had something that we missed.
No, I mean you mentioned that Finn and Seth had their contract signing.
Yeah,
Finn and Damian, they're still playing that potential rift up between those two. At this point, though, I don't know if it actually happens. Just because, and like we talked about last week, they could just do it. They could turn Finn babyface, and now that they could do something with Damian, Finn, and Seth. But like we talked about, they're getting so much utility out of the Judgment Day.
yeah,
It's really kind of the only every story they're really telling on Monday Night Raw outside of Alpha Academy and Viking Raiders, which we didn't even talk about the Alpha Academy promo. I thought was fantastic. Chad Gable is just, he's fantastic. The girl, Maxine, I think it was Maxine Dupree. I guess she's going to have her first match. And then Otis didn't even say anything. He just did his little catchphrase.
he don't have to. He can just stand there and dart his eyes side to side.
What did Chad Gable say? Oh, he said, you think it's so fun throwing my head through a shield? How about I put your head through a freaking chalkboard? Which I thought was just fantastic. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you split up anybody from Judgment Day at this point if you're going to use them this much and you don't really have anything else.
Yeah, weren't they were teasing at one point a month ago, Finn talking to that dude from NXT that they just brought up. They were, he was like talking to that dude like over in the shadows or whatever, and
yeah,
they haven't done anything with that. So I don't know if they just abandoned that or if that was just something to plant a seed for something else that's going to happen later or what. But I just thought about that just now. It's like, whatever happened with that dude? And I don't even remember the dude's name because it only happened once or twice. Yeah, I don't know, man. It seems kind of weird. Maybe they just abandoned it, said fuck it. But yeah, let's move on to Collision. Collision started with a Ricky Stark promo celebration of him winning the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. And then CM Punk comes down the ring. His music didn't hit, which I thought was interesting. He just walked on down, and it wasn't a big thing like it normally is when you interrupt somebody like that. And then Christian and Luchasaurus show up. I have in quotes, "What kind of man carries around a belt that he didn't win?" LOL. Because Christian's asking that of
Punk.
Because Punk, even though Punk didn't have the red bag that night,
No.
which, was funny as shit. And then Darby Allin comes out and says that he'll be the new face of TNT. So I guess he's going to challenge Luchasaurus at some point in the not too distant future. And then we can skip a couple things to all those guys were all tied together in the main event, which was Punk and Darby Allin versus Christian Cage and Ricky Starks. And Starks cheats for the second time in a row to get the win. We are and have been a Team Ricky Starks podcast. And he'll do a great job as a heel, but I don't. Now that we got face Ricky after, it was, heel Ricky, I guess, when he had the FTW championship or FTW title. I don't know, man. I don't know if this is the right direction for Ricky. They've kind of squandered every time we thought he was getting a little bit of a push. And I know, it's probably just part of the story or whatever because he's young and they've got time to do a lot of things with him, but it just seems a little off to me.
I mean, they can have him act like a heel if they want to. That crowd's not going to boo him. They didn't boo him Saturday.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, if you want him to cheat and go up against baby faces, that's cool. You're just going to split the fans because they're not going to boo Ricky.
Yeah.
Christian Cage, though, you brought him up. Just, my God, what a fantastic job that dude is doing. He's just such a veteran.
They were chanting turtleneck at him the other night.
He's wearing the turtleneck with no sleeves. His promos are just always on point, and it doesn't even like he doesn't even chew up a lot of time to do it. Like you said, he has the fantastic line. What kind of man carries around a belt that he didn't earn? just
Well, he had one around his waist.
Yeah. and then Darby, man. I mean, look, if Darby stands toe to toe with CM Punk, and he looks like he belongs, right? I mean, they have a star in that guy, which is kind of crazy to think about. Outside of MJF, quote unquote, these four pillars. I mean, he's the guy. I mean, he's surpassed Guevara. He's certainly surpassed our man Jack Perry. If you could just take Christian's promo ability and put it with Jack Perry's wrestling ability, you'd have one hell of a heel.
Yeah.
I thought the four-way match was really good. I love the fact that like Ricky and Christian couldn't decide who was going to start, and the ref was counting up to 10.
It wasn't necessarily that they couldn't decide. It was that Ricky was like, "No, it ain't me."
And Christian was like, "No, I'm not going."
Yeah.
Also, too, we didn't mention this. Kevin Kelly has been off of Collision because he's been doing the G1 over in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So they have Ian Riccaboni, who has done last week's episode of Collision and the week before. I thought Riccaboni has been really fantastic.
Yeah.
He's done a really nice job.
The only thing I will say is that he needs to figure out how to pronounce Idolo. He keeps saying Idolo.
Is that how you pronounce? I don't even know is that how you pronounce it? That gave me a question too.
It's Andrade El Idolo, and he keeps saying Idolo.
Maybe it's potato.
I mean, maybe so.
Yeah,
maybe so.
Speaking of Andrade, real quick, can we just mention this before we move on to the next thing? Because I don't know if we talked about this before. Andrade is my new favorite wrestler. So anytime he gets any amount of screen time, it just brings me so much joy. I get so giddy on Saturdays when he shows up. The security trying to kick him out and him going to shake the dude's hand, I thought it was one of the funniest things I've seen all week. I was cackling.
Did you see his tweet?
Yeah, I did see it.
He was like, "Yeah, last time I confronted somebody backstage about something I didn't like, I got sent home for 2 months."
Yeah. And then I saw another one where he said, "I'm tranquilo man." And even like as the security keeps trying to kick him out, and he's just like, "Is this the locker room?" Like, no, you gotta go. just fantastic. And then I don't know if they forgot, but they flashed up the graphic. We're getting Andrade and Buddy Matthews one-on-one like halfway through the show. And I was like, oh, damn, it was so nice a couple weeks ago. They're just going to run it back. And then in the main event, they were like, oh, wait a second. It's going to be a ladder match for Andrade's mask. And I was like, did they just forget that Buddy and Andrade wrestled a couple weeks ago? Or did they think that we forgot? Or did like the graphic in the middle of the show, was it wrong and they had to redo it? Or
that's a good question, because I remember seeing it come up and they're like, yeah, next week Andrade will take on Buddy. And I was like, well, okay, well, that was a good match last time. And
yeah,
you still got to build back up to him and Malachi, right? But and I totally missed the part where it's going to be a ladder match for the mask. I missed that part. I don't know what the hell is going on.
Yeah, they announced that like at the very. I think it was during the main event when they popped it back up. So, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about Andrade for a minute and a half.
He ain't mad at that.
To just be the charisma. It comes so easy, man.
Yeah. Where is this, a locker room?
Just when he went to shake that dude's hand, I was like, oh, he's literally surrounded by security guards.
Yeah.
And he just puts out a handshake.
So we could segue into the House of Black match, which is one of the next things I have up. But real quick, I do want to touch on Miro and how over he is with the crowd right now. Maybe it was just the crowd that night, but Miro's pop, he got several throughout the night, like in the ring. It was just fucking huge. it's good to see him, get some chance from the crowd after being away for so long.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have both always liked Miro. I think his biggest problem has always been, what do you do with him? Because if he is not a dominant badass, what is he? He doesn't have a lot of range in the way that, like, I think we probably have mentioned this before, but like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, the reason why they're going to be employed in WWE for as long as they want to be is because whatever you give them, wherever on the card, it makes sense and they can make it work.
Yeah, so, they're versatile.
Yeah, they're versatile. Miro, if he is not just beating the absolute shit out of people, well, you can't make him a comedy act, right?
Yeah.
And you can't, like, they can't keep doing with Miro what they're doing right now, which is basically just isolating him away from everybody else and letting him beat up jobbers.
Yeah.
Because that's going to get old.
But
sure. If you don't have anywhere to put him or you don't have a title for him to chase, this is where he can kind of get lost in the shuffle. I think this was a lot of his problem in WWE, and this really has been, outside of his one long run as TNT champion, this has been his problem in AEW too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what happens with him.
Well, we could go ahead and get into the House of Black versus the Acclaimed. House of Black gets the win, and then Billy Gunn starts unlacing his boots in the ring and leaves them there, and then he won't talk to the Acclaimed after the match is over. I think it was an article, or maybe it was Squared Circle, somewhere talking about how many times has this actually turned into a retirement. And I think there was somebody said it was only one instance they could think of. It's usually just a false flag or whatever, right? So, yeah. I mean, where do we go from here with the Acclaimed and the Guns, or Billy Gunn?
I don't know. I mean, Austin Gunn, who is a heel and who in kayfabe absolutely hates his father, even had a tweet where he was like, "This is the way you always wanted to go out." So I don't know if this is legitimately the end. I mean, boy, does it make House of Black look like even more devastating.
Right.
Because Billy got the hot tag and was kind of, doing his thing, and he immediately gets cut off, and Malachi hits him with that damn back spin kick, the Black Mass. 1, 2, 3. And then Malachi says something to him.
Yeah.
His entire demeanor changes.
Yeah.
So again, with that's cerebral warfare that the House of Black is engaging in. Listen, if this is legitimately the end for Billy Gunn, what a damn career that guy's had, right?
Yeah.
I mean, again, you don't have to be the world champion to make an impact in this industry. I mean, for the majority of his career, he has been, a mid-card guy. And, that's not a knock. Like we talk about, everybody can't be a world champion. But damn, if everything this dude wasn't given, he didn't get over somehow, And to have this second run now at what age? In his mid-50s?
Yeah, easily.
To be part of, a tag team like the Acclaimed and to elevate them to where they're at now. I mean, he played a big part in that. And now if this is his retirement, you talk about how this helps elevate House of Black even more.
Yeah, what do we say a few months back? Getting middle school kids sent to the principal's office for 25 years.
Yeah.
30 years.
And then his ability as a trainer, like all the people he's worked with, you could easily, if this is indeed the end, he can go back and slot right back into a coach's role. I think he's already a coach in AEW.
Yeah.
His sons are now part of what I think is one of the best up-and-coming groups in professional wrestling in Bullet Club Gold, and they continue to just get better and better and better. So, I mean, shout out to Billy Gunn, man, to just have – not a lot of people can say that they've had a 2-decade-plus career. And, I mean, he has done it at the highest level while somehow still managing to be one of the biggest human beings of all time. Like, that dude is still jacked to the gills.
Yeah.
He made Buddy Matthews look small.
Yeah, right? And Buddy's fucking yoked.
Buddy's also had enough of Dominic jokes. That's clearly where Matt Caster was headed, and he ate a flying knee because of it.
He ain't having that shit.
No, he's not having it anymore.
Well, man, I say let's wrap it up and get you down to the swimming pool and enjoy some time off this week. And unless you got anything else you think we need to touch on.
Was there anything else from Collision? Oh yeah, because now we're recording this on Tuesday. We've already talked about Dynamite hasn't happened yet.
Right.
So what do you think they do with MJF and Adam Cole in FTR next Saturday?
Oh, man. I don't know. One of them's going to turn, right? They're not going to let Better Than You Baby keep going, I don't think. Like, the whole point was to get them through this tournament, and they're through the tournament and will face FTR. Do you think, I think we talked about it last week, do you think Cole turns on MJF or vice versa?
It has to be Cole turns on MJF, but listen, do you have to break them up? Like I know conventional thinking is like, oh, they have to break up. But dude, you had FTR standing in the middle of the ring Saturday night, one of the most over tag teams, and people are chanting double clothesline.
Yeah.
Like I know you have to break them up, but like, do you have to break them up? I don't know. Can you figure it out? I don't know how you keep it going.
I don't know, man.
But maybe they've sold all the shirts they need to sell. Like, maybe there is some utility of like, hey, let's grab two dudes, put them together randomly, make a T-shirt. We sell the shit out of a T-shirt for a month, and then we just go on and do something else. But
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I think it would have to be Adam Cole turns on MJF. The MJF thing is so obvious, but maybe that's what they decide to do anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of good matches Wednesday, and there's a lot of good matches Saturday. So,
but the thing that I will say, I thought there was a little nugget in the FTR promo, and this is why I brought it up actually. Cash got the microphone first, right? And he's talking, and he looks into the camera, and he goes, "Adam, you know what kind of backstabbing dude MJF is. You know what he's capable of. Don't let him do that to you." Hence, maybe Adam strikes first then, right? Maybe he doesn't allow MJF to do it because he beats him to the punch.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe they are going to pull the trigger on an MJF babyface turn, because that, to me, that was a weird thing to have put in there. If that's not going to be the case, because if that wasn't the case, you could just have FTR come out and be like, "You guys have been thrown together as a tag team. We're the best tag team in the world. Like, you can't beat us." Enough comedy. That's it. Like, you don't have to give the little warning to Adam Cole about what kind of snake MJF is.
Interesting.
Unless
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, unless you're setting a little breadcrumb that old MJF's about to eat a super kick from Adam Cole, baby, come Saturday night.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
No doubt. I'll be watching. Well, yeah, man, I think that'll do it for the week. If y'all don't already follow us, you could follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Alabama Slam Pod. You can find us on Facebook by just searching the Alabama Slam Podcast, and follow our network of podcasters and writers at thealabamatake.com. You can find any of our podcasts are hosted there throughout the week, as well as they all are on all of the other podcatchers as well, and all of our shows are on YouTube. We've been getting more listens there than the traditional ways. I say traditional as podcatchers or whatever. But yeah, there's a weekly pop culture podcast, Taking It Down, weekly sports podcast, now again, weekly sportscast, Taking on Sports, and a bi-weekly podcast, another sports podcast called The Stare Down, for my cousin Mallory, and my wife has a monthly book podcast called Check Your Shelf, and my homies and I are resurrecting our Star Wars podcast called We Are a Star War. We recorded a bunch of stuff over the weekend, which will be coming out starting this week, either Thursday or Friday. We'll have the first episode in about 8 months will drop. And then there's also some friends of ours are in the middle of their third season of This Song Sucks podcast. So be sure to give all those folks a follow if you don't already, if that's your thing, and tell your friends about us. that we'd really appreciate that. So I guess that'll do it. Hope y'all are going to be listening on Wednesdays now moving forward. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Later, guys.